The Heckler Koch G3 is a 7.62 x 51 mm NATO select fire battle rifle developed in the 1950s by the German armament manufacturer Heckler Koch, H&K, in collaboration with the Spanish state-owned design and development agency CETME, Centro de Estudios Técnicos de Materiales Especiales. History. The origin of this rifle can be traced back to the final years of World War II when Mauser engineers at the Light Weapon Development Group, Abteilung 37, at Oberndorf am Neckar designed the MKB Gerät 06, Maschinen Karabiner Gerät 06 or Machine Carbine Device 06, prototype assault rifle chambered for the intermediate 7.92 x 33 mm Kurs cartridge. First with the Gerät 06 model using a roller-locked short recoil mechanism originally adapted from the MG42 machine gun but with a fixed barrel end. Conventional gas-actuated piston rod. The Gerät 06 would later be adopted as the STG-44, Sturmgewehr 44 or assault rifle. It was realized that with careful attention to the mechanical ratios, the gas system could be omitted. The resultant weapon, the Gerät 06H, the H suffix is an abbreviation for Halbverriegelt or half-locked, was assigned the designation STG-45, M, Sturmgewehr 45, M, or assault rifle, but was not produced in any significant numbers and the war ended before the first production rifles were completed. The German technicians involved in developing the STG-45, M, were taken to work in France at CEAM, Centre d'études et d'armement de Mulhouse. The STG-45, M, mechanism was modified by Ludwig Vorgrimler and Theodor Loeffler at the Mulhouse facility between 1946 and 1949. 3 versions were made, chambered in .30 carbine, 7.92 x 33 mm Kurs as well as the experimental 7.65 x 35 mm French short cartridge developed by Cartoucherie de Valence in 1948. A 7.5 x 38 mm cartridge using a partial aluminium bullet was abandoned in 1947. Loeffler's design, designated the Carabin Mitrailleuse Modèle 1950, was retained for trials among 12 different prototypes designed by CEAM, MAC, and MAS. Engaged in the Indochina War and being the second NATO contributor, France cancelled the adoption of these new weapons for financial reasons. In 1950, Vorgrimler moved to Spain where he created the LV-50 rifle chambered for the Kurs cartridge and later, the proprietary 7.92 x 40 mm CETME M53 round. At this point, the rifle was renamed the Modello II. The Modello II drew the attention of the West German border guards, Bundesgrenzschutz, who sought to re-equip the newly formed National Defense Forces. Not willing to accept a cartridge outside of the NATO specification, the Germans asked CETME to develop a 7.62 x 51 mm version of the rifle. The resulting CETME Model A was chambered for the 7.62 x 51 mm CETME cartridge which was identical in chamber dimensions but had a reduced power load compared to the 7.62 x 51 mm NATO round. Further development of the rifle with input from H&K produced the CETME Model B which received several modifications, including the ability to fire from a closed bolt in both semi-automatic and automatic firing modes, a new perforated sheet metal handguard. The folding bipod had been the foregrip in previous models, improved ergonomics, and a slightly longer barrel with a 22 mm rifle grenade launcher guide. In 1958, this rifle was accepted into service with the Spanish Army as the Modello 58, using the 7.62 x 51 mm CETME round. In 1956, the Bundesgrenzschutz cancelled their planned procurement of the CETME rifles, adopting the Belgian-made FN-FAL G1, instead. However, the newly formed West German Army, Bundeswehr, now showed interest and soon purchased a number of CETME rifles, 7.62 x 51 mm NATO chambering, for further testing. The CETME, known as the Automatisches Gewehr G3 according to German nomenclature, competed successfully against the Swiss SIG SG 510, G2, and the American AR-10, G4, to replace the previously favored G1 rifle. In 1956 the Bundeswehr started extended troop trails with 400 Set-Me rifles. Heckler and Koch made a number of changes to the Set-Me rifles. In January 1959, the Bundeswehr officially adopted the technically improved Set-Me proposal. The West German government wanted the G3 rifle to be produced under license in Germany. Purchase of the G1 had previously fallen through over FN's refusal to grant such a license. In the case of the G3, the Dutch firm Nederlandse Wapen en Munitiefabriek, NWM, held production and sales rights to the Set-Me design outside of Spain. To acquire production rights, the West German government offered NWM contracts to supply the German Air Force, Luftwaffe, with 20 mm ammunition. Production of the G3 was then assigned to Rheinmetall and H&K. The latter company already had ties to Set-Me, and had worked to further optimize the Set-Me rifle for use with the full-power 7.62 x 51 mm NATO cartridge, as opposed to the downgraded Set-Me variant. In 1969, Rheinmetall gave up production rights to the G3 in exchange for H&K's promise not to bid on MG3 production. Later in 1977, the West German government ceded ownership of G3 production and sales rights exclusively to H&K. Initial production G3 rifles differed substantially from more recent models. Early rifles featured closed-type mechanical flip-up sights, with 2 apertures, a lightweight folding bipod, a stamped sheet steel handguard, a wooden buttstock, in fixed stock models, or a telescopic metal stock. The weapon was modernized during its service life. Among other minor modifications, it received new sights, a different flash suppressor, and a synthetic handguard and shoulder stock, resulting in the most recent production models, the G3A3, with a fixed polymer stock, and the G3A4, telescoping metal stock. The rifle proved successful in the export market, being adopted by the armed forces of over 40 countries. Of that figure, 18 countries undertook domestic production of the G3 under license. Known manufacturers of the weapon included France, Moss, Greece, Hellenic Arms Industry, Iran, Defense Industries Organization, Luxembourg, Luxembourg Defense Technology, Mexico, Myanmar, Norway, Kongsberg Vapenfabrik, Pakistan, Pakistan Ordnance Factories, Portugal, FBP, Saudi Arabia, Sweden, FFV, Thailand, Turkey, MKEK, and the United Kingdom, Royal Ordnance. The Bundeswehr was working on improving their G3 rifles in the 1990s with a brass deflector that deflects spent cartridge cases down and frontwards from the operator and a new polymer pistol grip that allows ambidextrous better operating of the safety lever when they had their G3 rifles replaced for the Heckler & Koch G36. Currently, 2018, hundreds of thousands of G3A3A1, G3A4A1, and G3K4A1 modernized variants rifles are maintained by Bundeswehr personnel and kept in reserve or are available in military base small arms storages. Design details. The G3A3, A4, is a selective fire automatic weapon that employs a roller-delayed blowback operating system. The two-piece bolt assembly consists of a breech, bolt head, and bolt carrier. The bolt is held in battery by 2 sliding cylindrical rollers that engage locking recesses in the barrel extension. The breech is opened when both rollers are compressed inward against camming surfaces driven by the rearward pressure of the expanding gases upon the bolt head. As the rollers move inward, recoil energy is transferred to the locking piece and bolt carrier, which begin to withdraw while the bolt head slowly moves rearward in relation to the bolt carrier. As the bolt carrier clears the rollers, pressure in the bore drops to a safe level, the bolt head is caught by the bolt carrier and moves to the rear as one unit, continuing the operating cycle. The bolt features an anti-bounce mechanism that prevents the bolt from bouncing off the barrel's breech surface. The bolt head locking lever is a spring-loaded claw mounted on the bolt carrier that grabs the bolt head as the bolt carrier group goes into battery. The lever essentially ratchets into place with friction, providing enough resistance to being reopened that the bolt carrier does not rebound. The spring-powered claw extractor is also contained inside the bolt, while the lever ejector is located inside the trigger housing, actuated by the recoiling bolt. The rifle is hammer-fired and has a trigger mechanism with a 3-position fire selector switch that is also the manual safety toggle that secures the weapon from accidentally discharging. Fire selector in the E or 1-position single fire mode, Einzelfeuer F or 20 automatic fire, Feuerstoß S or 0 weapon is safe, Sicher, trigger disabled mechanically. The weapon can be fitted with an optional 4-position safety/fire selector group illustrated with pictograms with an ambidextrous selector lever. The additional, 4th selector setting enables a 3-round burst mode of fire. The rifle has a relatively high trigger pull of 50-55 N, 11.2-12.4 lbf, due to a drop safety requirement. An interchangeable set trigger pack assembly featuring a trigger stop and less trigger pull is available for the G3 SG/1 and other sniping-orientated variants. The firearm is equipped with a relatively low iron sight line that consists of a rotary rear drum and hooded front post. The rear sight is mechanically adjustable for both windage and elevation with the help of tools. This deliberately prevents non-armorers to zero the iron sight line. The rotary drum features an open V-notch, numbered 1, for rapid target acquisition, close range, low light and impaired visibility use, and 3 apertures, numbered 2, 3, and 4, used for 200-400 meters, 219-437 yd, in 100 meters, 109 yd, increments for more precise aiming. The 1 V-notch and 2 or 200 meters, 219 yd, aperture settings have an identical point of aim. The apertures are calibrated for US M80/German DM111 series or other equivalent 9.5 grams, 147 gr, 7.62 x 51 mm NATO ball ammunition. The receiver housing has recesses that work with Stanag claw mounts/HK clamp adapters used to mount day or night aiming optics. The rifled barrel contains 4 right-hand grooves with a 305 mm twist rate, terminates with a slotted flash suppressor which can also be used to attach a bayonet or serve as an adapter for launching rifle grenades. From the G3A3 the barrel was free-floated from the stock and had polygonal rifling. The barrel chamber is fluted, which assists in the initial extraction of a spent cartridge casing, since the breech is opened under very high barrel and internal cartridge case pressure. The G3A3, A4, uses either steel, 260 grams, or aluminium, 140 grams, 20-round double-stacked straight-box magazines, or a 50-round drum magazine. H&K developed a prototype plastic disposable magazine in the early 1960s, but it was not adopted as aluminum magazines were just as light and proved more durable, as well as easier to produce. Standard accessories supplied with the rifle include a detachable bipod, not included with rifles that have a perforated plastic handguard, sling, cleaning kit, and a speed-loading device. Several types of bayonet are available for the G3, but with few exceptions they require an adapter to be inserted into the end of the cocking tube. The most common type features a 6-3/4-inch spear point blade nearly identical with the M7 bayonet, but with a different grip because of its mounting above the barrel. The weapon can also mount a 40 mm HK79 underbarrel grenade launcher, blank firing adapter, a straight blowback bolt, called a PT bolt, lax rollers, used for firing 7.62 x 51 mm ammunition with plastic bullets, a conversion kit used for training with .22 long rifle ammunition, and a sound suppressor that uses standard ammunition. The G3 is a modular weapon system. Its buttstock, forestock, and pistol grip/fire control assembly may be changed at will in a variety of configurations, listed below. Simple pushpins hold the components in place and removing them will allow the user to remove and replace parts rapidly. Variants. The G3 served as a basis for many other weapons, among them, the PSG-1 and MSG-90 precision rifles, the HK-11 and HK-21 family of light machine guns, a semi-automatic version known as the HK-41, a sporterized model called the SR-9, designed for the civilian market in countries where the HK-91 would not qualify, primarily the US after the 1989 importation restrictions, and the MC-51 carbine. G3, original model based on the Setmi Modello B. It had a wooden stock and handguard. G3A1, G3 with a single position, collapsible stock. This design was chosen after earlier experimentation with an MP40 style ventrally folding metal stock. Excessive recoil caused it to be dropped from consideration. G3A2, G3 with new rotating drum rear sight. G3A3, the most well-known version. Drum sights, a fixed plastic buttstock, and a plastic handguard that does not contact the barrel. The handguard came in a slim, ventilated version and a wide version. The latter allows for the attachment of a bipod. G3A3A1, this is a version of the G3A3 with an ambidextrous trigger group and brass deflector. This is an official German Army designation, not an HK factory one. G3A4, the G3A4 uses drum sights and a single position, collapsible stock. Entered service in 1974 for frontline infantry units. G3A4A1, this is a variant of the G3A4 with an ambidextrous trigger group and brass deflector. This is an official German Army designation, not an HK factory one. G3KA4, smallest of the line, it is a carabiner, or carbine version of the G3. It uses an HK33 handguard, features drum sights, a retractable stock, and a 315mm, 12.4 in, barrel, reduced in length to the base of the front sight post, that is too short for use with a bayonet or rifle grenades. G3Ka4A1, variant of the G3KA4 with an ambidextrous trigger group and brass deflector. This is an official German Army designation, not an HK factory one. Models made under license. The G3 rifle is or was produced under license in the following countries: Brazil, France, Mexico, Turkey, Portugal, Sweden, Norway, Greece, Pakistan, Myanmar, and Iran. G3P3, model number for Pakistani-made version of G3A3. G3P4, model number for Pakistani-made version of G3A4. G3A5, HK assigned model number for the HK-made Danish version of the G3A3. It differs in that it has a silent bolt closure device. In Danish service it is known as the GVM/66. The GVM/66 was originally intended for use with optics as a designated marksman rifle, while the rest of the squad were issued M1 Garands. G3A6, HK assigned model number for the Iranian-made version of the G3A3. It differs in having a dark green handguard, stock, and trigger pack. G3A7, HK assigned model number for the Turkish-made version of the G3A3. G3A7A1, HK assigned model number for the Turkish-made version of the G3A4. HSG1, HK assigned model number for the Luxembourg-made version of the G3A3. BA63, model number for Myanmar-made version of G3A3. Other military variants and derivatives. Denmark. GVM/75, variant leased from the German Bundeswehr/German government by the Danish government to replace the aging M1 Garands. Originally manufactured by either Rheinmetall or HK for the German Bundeswehr. The GVM/75 rifles are basically G3S with the old-style straight cocking tube as opposed to the later FS, Freischwinger, cantilevered, variant. The Rheinmetall versions lack an external selector lever and can be converted from semi-automatic to full automatic, or vice versa, by the use of a special tool. Myanmar. BA63, licensed produced G3A3 by Myanmar state-owned Kapa SA factories in partnership with Fritz Werner Industrie Ausrüstung GmbH, FRG. It was the main battle rifle for Myanmar armed forces until they were replaced by Ma Series 5.56mm assault rifles in 1995. BA63 is still in service with Myanmar Police Force, People's Militia, and Ethnic Border Guard forces. BA64, typically known as G4 in Myanmar Armed Forces, this is the heavy-barreled light machine gun, LMG, version of standard G3A3 with bipod, carrying handle and full metal handguard with ventilation ports. Produced by Kapa SA factories in partnership with Fritz Werner Industrie Ausrüstung GmbH, FRG. As standard, a pair of G4 were issued to every infantry squad in Myanmar Army. It has now been phased out from Myanmar Army in favor of Ma series light machine guns. BA-64 remained in service with Myanmar Police Force, People's Militia, and Ethnic Border Guard Forces. BA-72, assault carbine version of G3A4/G3K with shorter barrel and wooden stock. BA-100, a copy of the G3A3ZF sniper rifle. Norway. AG3, Norwegian G3A5 variant produced by Kongsberg Våpen Fabric, with the given name Automatgevær 3. A total of 253,497 units were produced for the Norwegian Armed Forces from 1967 to 1974. The Norwegian AG3 differs from the original G3, it has a buttstock that is approximate 2 cm longer, the bolt carrier has a serrated thumb groove to aid in silent bolt closure, it features an all-metal cocking handle and a different bayonet mount. On April 11, 2007, it was announced that the AG3 would be replaced by the Heckler Koch HK416, in all military branches except for certain groups of the Home Guard. AG3F1, an AG3 with a retractable stock is on G3A4. Produced by Kongsberg Våpen Fabric. A retractable stock was required by certain groups of soldiers within the Norwegian Armed Forces, primarily vehicle crews with limited space inside, particularly where a quick disembarkment from such a vehicle is required. All versions of the AG3 have the ability to attach a 40mm HK-79 grenade launcher. AG3F2, an improvement of the AG3F1, featuring BNT Picatinny rails on the receiver, as well as a RIS handguard. On the AG3F2, AIM-PWANG red dot sights were mounted onto the receiver top rail for faster quick acquisition, and easier aiming in low-light conditions. Sweden. AK4, Swedish-made version of the G3A3, with a buttstock that is 2 cm longer, the bolt carrier has a serrated thumb groove to aid in silent bolt closure and fitted with a heavy buffer for higher number of rounds fired before failure. Extended 100-500 meters, 1095/47 YD, side adjustments. The rifles were manufactured from 1965 to 1970 by both Carl Gustav Stadsgevars Fabrik and Husqvarna Våpen Fabric and from 1970 until the end of production in 1985 exclusively by Gevars Fabrik in Eskilstuna. All AK-4s are adapted to mount the M203 grenade launcher. Sweden has supplied unmodified AK-4s to Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. AK-40R, Optist Richt Mittel, optical sight. This model is fitted with a Hensoldt 4x24 telescopic sight mounted via a HK claw mount. During a few years it was not issued, but it is now again in use by the Hemvärnet, Nationella Skydstyrkorna, Swedish Home Guard. AK-4B, in this updated version the iron sights have been removed and replaced with an AIM-PWANG CS red dot reflex sight mounted on a Picatinny rail. The rail is welded onto the rifle. Used by Hemvärnet, Nationella Skydstyrkorna, Swedish Home Guard. AK-4C, an updated version of the AK-4B with an adjustable length stock designed and manufactured by the Swedish company Spar Idalbiab. Fielded in 2017 and used by Hemvärnet, Nationella Skydstyrkorna, Swedish Home Guard. AK-4D, an updated version of the AK-4B with the adjustable length stock of the AK-4C but with the addition of a modular handguard, also designed and manufactured by the Swedish company Spar Idalbiab, and the Hensoldt 4x24 telescopic sight of the AK-40R in a Picatinny mount. The AK-4D will be used by the Swedish Army as a stopgap DMR. Iran. DIO G3A3 Bullpup, Iranian bullpup variant of the G3. Pakistan. G3P4, Pakistan Ordnance Factory's designation for license-produced G3A4 rifles. G3S, a version of G3P3 with a shorter barrel. G3M Tactical, a lightweight version of G3 rifle with polymer body and shorter barrel. United Kingdom. FR Ordnance MC51 machine carbine, produced by the United Kingdom firm FR Ordnance International Ltd. The MC51 weighs 3.1 kg, 6.8 pounds, has a folded overall length of 625 mm, 24.6 in, a barrel length of only 230 mm, 9.1 in, which produces a muzzle velocity of approximate 690 m/s, 2263.8 feet/s, and a muzzle energy of 2215 J. Another UK-based company called Imperial Defence Services Limited absorbed FR Ordnance and continues to market the MC51 standard variant. Specialized G3 types. G3 TGS. This is simply a G3 with a 40mm HK79 underbarrel grenade launcher. TGS stands for Tragberry's Granat System, Portable Grenade System. G3A3ZF. This is a rifle issued with a Stanag claw and rail scope bracket and a Hensoldt Faro Z244x24 telescopic sight to be mounted and zeroed by the user. The ZF stands for Zielfernrohr, telescopic sight. The Hensoldt Faro Z244x24 telescope sight for G3 rifle and claw mount assembly were developed for designated marksman use. The Faro Z24 elevation knob features bullet drop compensation, BDC, settings for 100-600 meters, 109-656 YD, in 100 meters, 109 YD, increments. The G3A3ZF is otherwise a standard G3A3 that during factory test shooting printed a 5-shot group of 80 mm, 3.1 in, 0.8 mm/2.75 MOA, diameter or less. G3SG/1, a modified/accurized rifle for sharpshooter/sniper use. The SG stands for Scharfschütze, sharpshooting rifle. The rifles were individually selected from the G3 production line for outstanding accuracy during test firing and then modified. G3 SG/1 rifles got a heavy, dual-stage buffer, fixed-mounted, Zeiss Diavarita 1.5-6x36 power telescopic sight and Stanag claw mount assembly mounted. The standard trigger was exchanged for an adjustable set trigger pack assembly with a 25N, 5.6 lbf, trigger pull and 12.5N, 2.8 lbf. In the set operation mode, the buttstock has a slightly adjustable auxiliary cheek riser, and the lengthened handguard has an integrated bipod. The Zeiss Diavarita 1.5-6x36 was windage adjustable and had an elevation knob featuring bullet drop compensation, BDC, settings for 10-600 meters, 11-656 YD. For the sub-100 meters, 109 YD, ranges the BDC numbers are yellow. The BDC numbers for the longer ranges are white and in 100 meters, 109 YD, increments. The automatic fire mode was retained but the set trigger mode could only be used for semi-automatic firing. MSG3, a variant featuring a 600 mm, 23.6 in, long barrel, a newer telescopic sight mount that is found on only a few of the Heckler & Koch rifles, as compared to the more conventional claw mounts, though the claw mounting points remain on the receiver. This newer telescopic sight mount does not allow the use of the open sights with the mount in place, as is the case with the more conventional claw mount. The receiver is not strengthened. In addition to the G3 SG/1, the buttstock has an auxiliary cheek riser and its length is adjustable and features the PSG-1 semi-automatic only trigger pack. Message stands for Militärisches Scharfschützengewehr, military sniper rifle. PSG-1, a free-floating 650 mm, 25.6 in, long barrel semi-automatic only version of the G3 with a strengthened receiver with rails welded over the channels where a retractable buttstock would slide and numerous other upgrades and such to meet the necessities of police sniper units. This rifle is famous for its accuracy and comfort, but infamous for its price and inability to be deployed by military units because some upgrades made the rifle too fragile. PSG stands for Präzisionsscharfschützengewehr, precision sniper rifle. MSG90, a somewhat cheaper and lighter 600 mm, 23.6 in, long barrel version of the PSG-1 modified for military sniping applications. The MSG90 and PSG-1 have different trigger packs. HK32, an experimental variant of the rifle chambered for the Soviet 7.62 x 39 mm M43 cartridge. It was never adopted by any country. Law enforcement and civilian models. G3A1*, the terminology used by custom gunsmiths, e.g., chote, and importers, e.g., Inter-Arms, for imported semi-automatic G3 weapons with an aftermarket side-folding stock. This is not part of official HK nomenclature. HK41. The HK41 is a semi-automatic version of the G3 that was marketed to law enforcement. Limited sales at home and U.S. import restrictions and firearms regulations led this weapon to be dropped from HK's product line quickly, and it was replaced by the HK91. Fleming Arms HK51. Contrary to popular belief, the HK51 is not made by H&K, being a creation of the American Class II manufacturing aftermarket. The HK51 has no real standards but is usually a cut-down and modified G3A3 or its semi-automatic clones, the HK41 and HK91, and modified to take MP5 furniture and accessories. It is usually fitted with a collapsible stock, with a 211 mm, 8.31 inch, long barrel. It is relatively small at 589 mm, 23.17 inches, with the stock retracted, and 780 mm, 30.72 inches, with the stock extended. The first commercial version was by Bill Fleming of Fleming Arms and existed before Heckler & Koch made the HK53. HK91. The HK91 is a semi-automatic version of the G3 similar to the HK41, also marketed to civilians. However, in order to comply with U.S. firearm regulations, a number of modifications to the HK91 were made that do not appear on the first pattern HK41. Internal parts that could allow fully automatic fire were removed. A shelf was welded onto the receiver where the pushpin of the trigger pack would normally go, to prevent installation of a fully automatic trigger pack. This did not allow the use of the paddle-style magazine release, and so the magazine release button on the right side of the magazine well must be used instead. It is otherwise identical to the G3A3/A4. Importation into the United States began in 1974 and ceased in 1989, with some 48,000 rifles being imported. HK911. The HK911 was an HK91A2 with the flash hider removed and the receiver re-stamped with an extra one to comply with the U.S. importation ban of 1989. The new designation theoretically made it legally immune to the import ban, as no HK911 rifles were mentioned on the list of banned guns. However, the later banning of several paramilitary features on the HK911 made it illegal. SR9. These variants of the HK91ZF were created to comply with the semi-auto import ban of 1989, which included all variants of the HK91. They differed from the HK91 in that they had their flash hiders removed and featured a smooth fore-end that lacked the bipod attachment point. The SR9 series were banned from importation to the United States because they could accept standard capacity magazines. The SR9 was an HK91A2ZF with the pistol grip and buttstock replaced with a one-piece thumbhole stock. SR9, or target, model was an HK91A2ZF with the trigger replaced with the PSG-1 model, the pistol grip replaced with an ergonomic PSG-1 grip and the buttstock replaced with an MSG-90 model. SR9, TC, or target competition, model was an HK91A2ZF with the trigger group, pistol grip, and buttstock derived from the PSG-1. Other manufacturers. PTR 91 series. Additionally, JLD, now PTR Industries, started manufacturing semi-automatic copies of the HKG3 called the PTR 91 in the United States. They used tooling from the FMP Arms factory in Portugal to build the rifles. Century International Arms. Century Arms builds a clone of the G3 under the model designation of C308. SAR-3, semi-automatic copy of HK91 made by EBO in Greece and imported into the United States by Springfield Armory. SAR-8, post-ban version of SAR-3, modified to comply with import restrictions. Bangladesh Ordnance factories produced under license. Users. Active. Angola. Argentina, Grupo Halcon, Buenos Aires Police Special Operations Group. Bahrain. Bangladesh, manufactured by the Bangladesh Ordnance Factories. Bolivia. Botswana. Brunei. Burkina Faso. Burundi. Chad. Cameroon. Chile. Colombia, originally used copies made by IMI and Indumil. Replaced in service by IMI Galil. Côte d'Ivoire. Croatia. Cyprus. Djibouti. Dominican Republic. El Salvador. Estonia, uses the AK-4 and AG-3F2 variant. Ethiopia. Gabon. Germany, used by the German Army from the 1950s until the mid-1990s as the primary service rifle. Originally to be replaced by the HKG-41 and HKG-11, post-reunification budget cuts forced the procurement of the HKG-36 instead. Large numbers still in storage, and is used in overseas deployments as a designated marksman rifle. Some variants still in use by border guards and police forces. Ghana. Greece, the HKG-3A3 replaced the American M1 Garand in the late 1970s and manufactured under license by Eliniki Biomihania Oplon, EBO, now Elinica Amantica Systemata, EAS. Guyana. Haiti. Iceland, AG-3 supplied from Norway. Indonesia, TNIO, Indonesian Air Force, Special Forces, the Corps Pasukan Khas, Paskas, used the G3 as their standard weapon along with AK-47 since the early 60s during Operation Trikara campaign in Western New Guinea conflict. It was replaced by the Colt M16A3. The G3 is currently used in reserve and training units. Iran, manufactured locally by Defense Industries Organization. A bullpup variant is called the G3A3. Iraq. Ireland. Jordan. Kenya. Latvia, AK-4 variant used by National Guard. Kuwait. Lebanon. Libya. Lithuania, AK-4 variant was used by the Lithuanian Armed Forces and Lithuanian National Defense Volunteer Forces. Macedonia, used by the Army of the Republic of Macedonia. Malawi. Malaysia, the Malaysian Army and Royal Malaysia Police used the G3A4 as their standard weapon along with HK-33 since the early 1970s during communist insurgency in Malaysia, 1968-89. The G3/SG-1 used by the both sniper team of military and police special forces. It was replaced by the Colt M16A1. The G3/SG-1 is currently used in reserve and paramilitary units. Mauritania. Mauritius, former main battle rifle of the military of Mauritius. Kept in reserve for training. Still in use in limited amount with the Navy and some police forces. Mexico, made under Lee.
Please subscribe and thanks for watching.